I can barely remember what first attracted me to Wonder Woman because it was so natural. It happened when I was such a young child, and every child wants to be powerful and good and beautiful and effective and all of those things. And like all of us in elementary school went directly towards whichever superhero it was that represented that for us. And I was, even though Wonder Woman had been around since the 50s, I was around in this wonderful renaissance of Wonder Woman because of the show. So Wonder Woman was like the thing to be, you know, that was it. It's like your fantasy of everything great you could ever aspire to being, beautiful and strong and kind and, you know, exciting and stylish and all of those things. So I was always attracted to the character as soon as I ever heard about her, and still am. I'm a big believer in the origin story. It's something that I think is like important for our society. We love stories about being something better than oneself or different than oneself and what one does with that. So first of all, I came from a love of that style of story, and have loved many of those kinds of stories before, and many movies that are origin stories. And so I think it was, first of all, fixating on how to best tell that kind of story. And then when it comes to Diana, coming from the Themyscira, becoming Wonder Woman, becoming, you know, the Wonder Woman in our world, it was really trying to stay true in a very, very simple way to what the best story structure for that kind of classic origin story is, and then both celebrate and enjoy where she comes from and what that history is and who the Amazons are, and then what encountering man's world is for a superhero, and that journey that every superhero must take into what it is to be, in an origin story, what it is to be a superhero and what they're going to choose to do with that power in our world. The essence of the story to me is, what is it to be a hero? That's the essence of the story, is we all want to be a hero and we're all attracted to it, and that's why we love these origin stories and we love superheroes. But what is it really to be a hero? Is it defeating the bad guy? Yes, sometimes, but it's more than that, because it ultimately ends up being about, like what any of us in adulthood end up discovering. Being a hero is often not a proactive state of being, of going and punching somebody out and therefore things being over. It ends up being so much more on an everyday scale about understanding and love and forgiveness and the complexity of life, and how one uses your power as an adult wisely and kindly, you know, in a kindly way. And so that's what the movie's about to me. It's about how do we take a hero whose intentions are not violence at all, and who doesn't really get thrill out of violence, but put her in a world where her power can make a difference. And what does she end up realizing that she can do to be a hero in the world? Gal embodies everything about Wonder Woman. I will never stop talking about it because I couldn't mean it more. Gal is genuinely such a beautiful, kind, lovely, thoughtful, and has a openness that is not based in naivete. You know, she might seem bright and available or naive or any, you know, she's just such a youthful spirit, but she's so wise, and it's coming from a choice. She's making a choice to stay open to the world and stay loving to the world despite understanding so much about it. So she is what Wonder Woman stands for, and is what Wonder Woman should stand for. He's an American pilot, fighter pilot, who ends up coming to Europe and becomes a spy for the Brits, undercover with the Germans. And so he crashes onto the shores of Themyscira, no idea what's going on, but knows that he must get back to man's world because he has something in his possession which is going to change the course of the war. And ends up being the siren song that brings Diana out into the world. And then through their journey of their relationship, Steve Trevor ends up becoming the person who single-handedly symbolizes everything about mankind. the good, the bad, the complexity, the humor. And so they have this wonderful journey of her very slowly getting to know and understand more and more about what man's world is. He's the person who does not want the war to end, who is the embodiment of Aries in our world, of wanting the war to go on forever at any cost. He finds Dr. Moreau, who is a famous character from the comic books, Dr. Poison, who is a very damaged person who delights in the idea of the weaponry that she's able to create, and who is trying to come up with the most dangerous weapon of all time to satisfy his ability to keep the war going. And they're both gunning to violate the armistice, knowing that the Germans are going to sign an armistice. They either want to violate the armistice or beat the armistice to being signed to doing something so catastrophic that the war will not be able to end. I think the coolest opportunity with Wonder Woman is that she is the archetypal ideal of the greatest woman of all time. She's not a certain kind of woman. She's not any smaller than that, you know? She's not a specific woman of only a certain kind. She is the idealized universal woman, not unlike what Superman is to men. You know, Superman is the great hero. You know, that's who he is. That's what he stands for. He stands for good and triumph and vulnerability and having a sense of humor, but wanting to be great and all of those things. Wonder Woman is the one and only version of that for women. And I think the thing that's so unique about her, and that was both instilled in Marston's original work and also beautifully celebrated by the show and Linda Carter, is that she wasn't compromised for her strength. And that was something very, very, very new when it was first written, and continued to be new and continues to be new now. I care deeply about making the greatest Wonder Woman of all time, because I care about making the greatest Wonder Woman of all time, because I love Wonder Woman and I'm a filmmaker. So nothing's ever going to make that more interesting to me. So the fact that I'm a woman, or she's a woman, or we're all women, or whatever, was a wonderful, deep part of it. But it also, you just tune it out completely, because I'm just a filmmaker trying to make a film that I care about that much anyway.